If you've ever been to a Texas beach, you know that not all sand is created equal. So here at Austin Courts and Floors, we're here to make sure your beach court looks a little less like Galveston, a little more like the Bahamas. For beach volleyball court, the most important part of this whole thing is going to be the base. So we start by creating a V drain in the shape. So we bring all the water down to a single drain in the middle. This accomplishes two things. One, it gets the water in and out of the court through a drain pipe like such. And then the second thing is it makes the center of your court, where most of the play is going on, the deepest part of the sand. And so we've got 18 inches of sand in the center of this court, and it slopes out to about 12 inches of sand along the sides. So we bring down that V drain, in this case to accompany some of the natural slope. We added some drainage gravel onto this side to bring it in. Then we bring it into a drainage channel filled with drainage rock and a perforated drain pipe. This is all to accomplish getting all that water into the drain pipe and out of your court as quickly as possible, making it possible for you to play as soon as possible after a rain. Now as we look at what comes up next, once we've got that drainage done, we bring in a heavy geotextile fabric. This does two things. One, separates your sand from the dirt, and the second thing is it keeps any weeds from growing up through the dirt that's existing into the sand. And you see it transitions from either pre-existing dirt or drainage gravel onto the geotextile fabric, which we're going to progressively cover this with your high quality beach court sand. And as always, we throw in a baseball just for fun. Another critical component of the court is obviously the net system and the sleeves. So when we set these sleeves, super essential, you've got a sturdy concrete footing. In this case, we actually made a mistake. Right here is about where the sand's supposed to come up to. And if we didn't catch this mistake, we didn't have project managers in the field to find these things, when this sand came up to here and the net was providing tension across here, this sleeve is the only thing supporting that net and the concrete below. This plastic sleeve probably would have broken off and that net system would have been unusable. So tomorrow morning, before any more sand gets in here, they're going to bring concrete and rebar all the way up to the top of this thing, make sure it's fully reinforced. Just another reason why you really want to trust your court to a professional court contractor, because if you make this mistake yourself, digging out this sand, replacing it with concrete could be costly and very time consuming. Let's talk about sand. This, although maybe not the most important part, is what everyone's going to see. I'd still argue the most important part's the drainage, the base work, the perimeter work, because ultimately it doesn't matter how great the sand is, if that stuff stinks, your court is going to not stand the test of time. But this is a very important part of a beach court, and color is not the only thing that differentiates it. Softness, things like that. So what we're looking for in sand is actually a sub-round sand particle. And if you look really, really closely at this sand, with almost a microscope, you could see that some particles come out of here and they're round or they're angular. And so ask your sand supplier, are you providing an angular sand or rounded sand? And then that's the most important part, because what that's going to determine is effectively like sandpaper. You can equate this to like extra fine finishing sandpaper, to where when you rub it across your skin like that, it's not going to be abrasive, it's not going to hurt. Other sands that are angular, like for fairway bunkers or golf bunker sands, are designed not to compress and have angular sand, so that basically angular in a bunker sand is to keep a golf ball from divoting in and plugging in a golf bunker. So this is opposite sand than what you would want in a golf course. So this sand also, as you run it through multiple sieves, as you get smaller and granulars, you want there to be very little or almost no retained particles after you get to the smallest sand. That's going to say once you get done with this, you're going to be able to brush this sand off, and you're not going to have a residue, a sticky residue substance on your skin that you've got to wash or shower. So if you've played any amount of beach volleyball, you're going to notice these things to be true. There are plenty of courts you can play on that look great, but the second you dive, you have cut up elbows, and you can see blood on a lot of these courts because they don't have the right type of sand. As we move to the border of the court, something that's essential, we talked about there's multiple options. You could do a perimeter berm out of earth. You could do a concrete border with a pad on top of it. You could do a perimeter board with an edge guard on top of it, which is another popular option. In this case, their customer really wanted to have a matching limestone border with a nice old historic limestone wall or building that they have off to the side. So in this case, we brought in big 24-inch by 18-inch butter blocks. They're 6 feet wide. We're able to place these carefully to make sure you have a nice clean top of finish here. And we've got them at least 15 feet away from the playing lines of the court to ensure safety for all the players. For added safety, we could always come back in and put a pad on it, which we're actually doing on another side of this project to keep it safe from the turf field. And then this is going to ultimately contain all of the sand that's in the court itself. So we got about 12 to 16 inches of sand on this edge that's going to be contained and held in by these beautiful blocks. So how much is your sand volleyball court going to cost, or how much is your beach volleyball court going to cost? Generally between $10 to $25 a square foot. So that's a pretty big range. So if you're going to be at a 40 by 70, almost 3,000 square feet, bare minimum you're going to be around $30,000. If you're going to be up to professional size, 60 by 90, which is about 5,000, a little bit more square feet, times $25 a square foot, well, that's $125,000. All right, so that's a pretty big range, and let me try to help you understand maybe what factors go into it. First would be the site prep. If you've got a nice flat spot, we can just come in there, morph the surface that you've got, create some perimeter curbs or beams and do some edging. That's pretty easy to do. If you've got a lot of slope on your site, that's going to be a lot of excavation, a lot of retainage. Retainage meaning retention walls to be able to make that site now level. Now, the next thing is, well, what depth of sand do you want to have? We'd recommend for a professional court 18 inches in the center out to 12 inches on the side, but that might be more than you want. So if you want to go on the lower priced end of things, really want to keep to a minimum of 12 inches. You could maybe slope that out to 6 inches on the sides. Now let's talk about sand. Sand is going to be that next factor that really drives your price up and down. There's local sand available like masonry sand or silica sand that's not that expensive per square foot. But if you want to go to a premium, maybe even like an approved volleyball sand, that's where it's going to get to the higher price ranges per square foot and get you closer to that $20, $25 a square foot, because you're adding both more depth to get to a competitive size, but also you're adding that nicer, rounded, low residue sand that's going to be great for players to enjoy and great for drainage. Fencing we get into, I've seen fencing at sand volleyball, beach volleyball courts be just 10 feet across the sides. That should be sufficient if it's sufficiently far away from the edge of the court. If you're getting to a narrow like 40 by 70 court, to have ball containment that's effective for volleyball, you really have to be at 20-foot high fencing. So 20-foot high fencing involves drill rigs, big steel columns coming up, and a breakaway net system for high winds, that if high winds happen, it doesn't rip your net or bend your poles over. So those things can drive your prices up as well as you get into that higher degree net system. And then lighting. Lighting's another one of those things where you can invest as much money as you want in lighting. Whether it just be enough for recreational fun play, we'll put a light at the net on either side and you'll be able to see and play with your friends. But as you know in volleyball, the ball moves fast and it's a pretty hard ball. So if you don't have good lighting, you have a lot of shadowing on your court, it can be really problematic and almost a safety issue. When we get into more competitive courts, you're looking at least 3 to 6 lights on the LED lights on your court. Or if you get to really big complex, you're talking about vertical masts, your kind of high mast lighting, 30, 40 feet in the air, just like you'd see at a soccer or baseball field. So those things, depending on what you're choosing, are going to really affect that price. But I think between $10 and $25 a square foot, we're going to be able to find you something that's going to match both what you're looking to get out of the court and your budget. Okay. When it comes to installing the high quality lines around the perimeter, it's key and essential that the anchors for the corners are installed well below the surface. We recommend actually at least 8 inches, as much I think we got down to 12 inches here. So as we look down, the corner has an eyelet on it, and then you run a bungee cord, pretty high powered bungee cord, all the way down to an anchor under here. This keeps all the players safe. It keeps the lines in place where they're supposed to be. And if you want to do adjustable lines, say maybe have a couple different options, I'd actually recommend, if you want a bigger option or a lower option, I wouldn't recommend moving this anchor every time you want to have a different option. I'd actually recommend a second anchor placed further out, which will make the adjustability a lot easier. So you don't have to dig the sand up, redo the anchor just to move your lines out a little bit. As far as expanding the lines themselves, it's pretty easy. Think about your basic adjustable strap right here. So you'll just pull out another 6-8 inches if you want to go from, say, doubles lines out to, like, we call them beer league lines. But that's your options for doing your lines. Key is safety, safety, safety. We touched base on the error we made earlier in this video about not having the concrete set high enough on the sleeve, causing it to crack, ultimately causing this to not stay straight up. So before the installation, we got down here and we got our concrete footing, about 18 inches wide, set 4 inches below the top of the sand. We then have our sleeve itself that comes up above that. So that keeps the sand, and then we have a actual cover here that's going to cover the sleeve to also help further keep the sand out. And you've got a little bit of a sharp point here, right? So we want to have that double covered, make sure sand doesn't get in and you don't get hurt if you dive or run into this, or if you just step in this area. So we want to make sure you have a good covering of the sand over your concrete footer, but you can't have your concrete footer too low because then you won't have the support you need for the actual sleeve itself. Let's show you the versatility of this net. The pad has a slot down here, which is going to allow the top of the net to go all the way down to about 6 feet, making the bottom net even lower. So if you want to go lower than that, it still has the capability of going all the way down to 3 foot, right? We can drop this thing all the way down to the bottom, play something like beach tennis or beach soccer or something like that. Play some really cool, fun games, right? Or just for little kids, if you want to get them out there playing. But let's say it's ready for a competition, we're ready to go back up to the top. I'm going to unclip my pin, simply roll it up to my right height. We have this one marked to go at mark 5 to be at our right playing height. I don't have to reduce the tension at all. I'm going to pull my pin again, and I'm going to go up to my matching mark. And remember, we put that pin down at the bottom where we need. That's why I recommend marking these, and then you drop it back down on top. All I have to do after that, in this case, we're going to put the pad back on. In most cases, you're not going to have to do that at all. Very simple process. 4 straps, and this thing's ready to go back at another height. This is a huge advantage for facilities that are going to have multiple ages, multiple levels of competitions playing at them. Facilities where you don't want to have a facility manager have to be responsible for coming out, and it's really park ready. It's got these built-in winches if something goes wrong, and you won't have any lost or stolen parts, and your heavy-duty steel pole is going to bring this thing home, and it's going to last you a lifetime. Powder coated, should not rust. It's really the best system that we know of on the market. And designing this thing out, we're really trying to think about the safety of the kids at this school. One of the critical parts of this is this court with these butter blocks. We're right next to the turf field where they're playing soccer and all that sort of stuff. And so we wanted to make sure that we had this edge, this hard edge, padded. Now, at first, we didn't think we wanted, or us and the client didn't think it was necessary to have the hard edge on the inside of the court padded because we had such an excess of space. It's really nowhere near the playable area. It should be vastly safe. In hindsight, coming back, the customer wanted us to add and wants us to add padding around the entire inside. So I think the learning that we had on this is err on the side of safety, especially if you're going to have concrete or something like this that's a hard edge. Go ahead and pad it on the front end. Let's make sure that's a part of the planning process. Let's keep all the players safe, because the last thing we need in a sport where everyone's diving all the time is a head injury. So this padding is pretty cool. It's pretty easy. It has a Velcro on the inside that's mechanically fixed to the block or the concrete curb. You can get them in custom sizes, and the pad simply applies to that Velcro. It's very sturdy. It has a Velcro piece on the front as well. We can do larger pads, smaller pads. This one's gonna eventually have, it's on order right now, but a U-shaped pad that covers both sides for full safety. Let's wrap this all up and talk about maintenance. One of the biggest questions we get, what's gonna go wrong? What needs to be replaced? All that sort of stuff. Great thing is, the answer is almost nothing. But the maintenance you are gonna have, specifically if you're in proximity to trees, is just dirt and debris. You wanna keep the sand clean, and a little bit of maintenance on a regular basis is gonna go a long way to keeping the sand and the investment that you've made in tip-top shape. So right now, I'm standing under a few beautiful oak trees they wanted to keep for shade. One of the downsides of oak trees, or any sort of tree, is you're gonna have tree droppings. Might not look like such a big deal, but sticks, twigs, things like this that are on a place where you're playing barefoot can really be a big pain. It can hurt. And if these accumulate more and more over time, we've had people get to the point where they need all new sand because it's so full of tree droppings. So here's a sand sifter. You can get this off Volleyball USA. There's a few other places out there you can get something like this. But it's pretty simple. You're rolling over where you want to clean. You're just dragging it underneath like so. And then you're sifting the sand out, right? So good sand goes through, bad particles stay on the top. Now, is this a slow, kind of monotonous process? Yeah, definitely. But is it essential to keeping your area clean? I think so. If you've made it this far in this very long video, hats off to you, because you're probably doing a lot of research and you're probably learning a lot more content than just this video. So we're really thankful for you sticking with us. We trust that this facility is going to be top-notch for beach volleyball. They're going to be training future college and Olympic athletes on this court. I have every belief that that's the case. So when you go to build your court, I want you to remember what we talked about today. Drainage is key. Sand is essential to understand the dynamics. The border, the net system, all of the things that go into making a great facility. The safety, right? Don't forget about the safety. I think we forgot about a little bit of it in this build, and I wish we would have foreseen some of those things, right? But when you're going through that process, ask the questions. Don't be afraid. You do deserve to know what angularity and what color the sand that's going to be in your court is. Do not just take, oh, regular old sand as an acceptable answer. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. Whether you're a customer of ours or not, we would love to be able to help you.